Welcome, everybody. With me today is Reese Harper, CFP and CEO of Elements and host of the Elementality podcast. That's a big word to say. Recently, Reese and Elements were also front and center on the big ocean stage. That's the big stage at the Future Proof Festival as one of 3 tools featured on how to make workflows easier for advisors. Reese, welcome.
Hey, Jeff, it's good to be with you, man. Excited
Yeah,
for the convo.
me too. Now, I was going to say, when you hopped on, I felt a little underdressed because you had this really killer hat. So this is the best I can do on short notice, but I'm going to go with a Bronco. Go
Dude,
Bronco hat.
loving it. Loving the Ford Bronco hat. I've been fascinated by the Bronco evolution. And I'm a kind of a, I have a Ford Raptor. It's a
Ooh,
2019 and I've made it 5 years with it though. So I'm not like the biggest spender, guys.
yeah.
Um, and it, during that time, the Bronco made its like way into pop culture again.
Oh
Like my
yeah.
neighbors are like, I had like 10 Broncos around me, I think. And I
Yeah.
live in pretty much downtown Salt Lake City. So it's like
Where it's not necessary. Totally not
I
necessary.
have a Ford Raptor and I live in Salt Lake City. It's more like a Cadillac truck than a or you can jump it, which is fun. I've done that before and it's a lot of fun. So
That is exciting. I actually waited a year to get my Bronco. I ordered it early. I had a Jeep Wrangler before that. I'm a big fan of kind of
mm.
off-road vehicles. And I don't know how much you know about the Bronco, but you can actually take the doors off and store them in the vehicle. So if you're
Oh,
going off-road, you don't have to like leave
they
them on
have
a
told
tree
me
or
about
something.
this.
Yeah.
They're so cool. I love this
Yeah.
hat.
Oh,
We
yeah.
got to get
Yeah.
back on fintech, Jeff. I will go
I
on
know, I'm sorry.
Cars for the whole time, man.
You're right. So for those that don't know you, I
Mhm.
always like to start like, how did you get started in the industry? How did you even get involved in financial services?
We'll try to be brief, because people don't love backstories that go too far. I will say I thought I was going to be a musician, and I started a music studio called Do Re Media, and I was not. I found that it didn't hold my energy for as long as I hoped it would, and I started getting interested in making more than $8 an hour. Um, and so I started exploring other careers and came across financial services like in my early 20s, and really fell in love with it. It was creative enough for me because you're like building someone's future and it had no limits or sort of like boundaries to how you could imagine a life. And so that was a lot of fun. It was creative in that it let me meet new people all the time and hear their stories and just wonder about the amazing things they had done. Their people like clients are just so fun to watch.
Yeah.
What they
So you got,
achieve, the way they think, how they, so that that's what got me. I worked for someone for 3 or 4 years. I worked for several people. I then started my own firm, kind of a generic RIA. I was inside of a broker dealer previously and didn't really love the lack of creativity in the marketing department that would afford me. I mean, I think that's probably if they had a more, if I don't know if I'd have left a broker dealer environment without that being the main trigger. I mean, the commission based versus fee compensation was like also just as an artist, I didn't like the pressure I felt like to give advice. I liked advice to be really authentic and really customized and not influenced by anything.
Mhm.
And so it was tough. Like I had a tough time. Like um, I had to find a way to like neutralize fees so that I wouldn't be thinking about fees when I
For
was
you.
talking to the client. And I think some
Yeah.
advisors can do that better than others. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't. I was like always thinking like, well, if I get paid that much, is that fair to charge for a planning fee if I get paid insurance on this? Or
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
left, set up my own shop, and after a few years of being a generic financial advisor, I specialized down to dentists, and then built a brand called Dentist Advisors. We're currently debating whether we rebrand to Dentist Money, instead of Dentist Advisors, because the millennials are like kind of anti-advisor. And if we're just
Oh,
money people, then somehow that's okay. So we're testing
same,
that.
interesting. Interesting. I'm very curious to hear your results.
Shout
I guess,
out to anyone who's testing those terms. If you know an answer for me, folks, I would love to know.
yeah. Or if we see you
Anyway,
switch, then we know that the testing was good. So at some point, you must have faced some sort of problem. I think most people face some sort of problem before they start a tech company. What was like the problem you were facing before you started Elements that made you?
I've been really passionate about the down market motion my whole career. Like, how do I get down to people? How could I get down to a 401k participant and give them one piece of advice, one single piece of advice that would actually like change the trajectory of their future? Like
Hmm.
if if at 26 you could warn someone not to have a debt to income ratio of 45% or more, like,
Hmm.
do not go there, guys. Like, the mortgage broker will let you qualify for this, but that will absolutely cripple your cash flow and you'll never have a chance to reinvest in education or yourself or take a vacation, and you'll just be strapped. Like, they don't know this kind of stuff. They don't like the wisdom of finance is like reserved largely for the people that can pay for the professionals that have the financial wisdom to share.
Hmm.
And those people generally have big AUM balances or high incomes. And so the incentive was like, we had all these dentists that are like, I go to a dental school, there's 150 kids in the audience and they're all lining up out the door for 2 hours to ask me how to get their student loan financed. And I'm like, dude, I would have to spend just data gathering in this line. I think there's 190 hours,
Hmm.
so what if the line for data gathering wasn't there? Like, what if I made the data gathering happen on their cell phone in advance? And what if I, instead of having a quote plan, because plans are not, we call them plans, but really they're just retirement forecasts.
Okay.
And like a plan is like, I, no one wants a plan. People want something more specific than that. And it's usually pretty acute, the thing they want. It's pretty narrow. So they want to pick the right student loan. Like, it's something like that. It's something
They each
narrow.
have something unique and specific they're seeking. They're
Yeah. And
maybe
so, like, and a plan is not it. It's not it ever. Not looking for a plan. We tell them we're planners and that's our
yeah,
name.
yeah.
I just don't actually, I think the invention of I mean, I'll get in trouble from this for the CFP board if I don't say it the right way. I love the CFP board and I'm grateful for the role they play. And I've learned a lot from them. And I continue to want to learn more. But from a marketing point of view, like, if the industry calls what we do a financial plan and the public's like, those guys do financial planning and they get you a plan, and that's actually not that compelling to the public, then we're not really helping our industry that much. Like, we need to address what the public is thinking about and not what we say they should do, which is like, get a plan. It's like the plan is it's our solution to whatever pain they have. But if we market our solution and we don't market to their pain, then they're not going to know that we can help. So I think it's more like, it's bigger than for me. The product came out of this world of like, I don't want people to think they know what I'm about to do. I
Hmm.
don't want them to think they know what I do. I don't
Right.
want to have any preconceived notion about what it is that this thing is that I'm going to build. I just want them to be like curious. I just want them to be curious. I just want them to not think they know.
Yeah.
Um, and so we called it Elements. We put a Rubik's Cube on the app and
Yeah.
we turned it into a periodic table of scores about each area of your financial life. And we told them that we would compare those scores to what we consider health benchmarks. Like we have a
Yeah.
health benchmark, compare your scores to our benchmarks.
It,
Now it's a new thing. Now it's like, oh, so
yeah. Yeah.
you
I was gonna
different.
ask, like Kitsy's calls you sales enablement or advice engagement. If you were to describe it to someone for the first time, would you use those words or would you use something else?
Well, I would resist ever being told what I am. So I would just say,
Okay.
I don't know. You
Got
tell
you.
me.
You too.
I don't know. I don't.
Sounds like all great art, right? All great art.
Yeah, like you tell me. I'm good with whatever. We just created as a team something we thought would be helpful to attract an accumulator audience that we know is the future of both the firm's valuation and the future of wealth. And right now, only like 30% of those kids are even sticking with their parents' financial advisors. So if you don't have young people, if they are not saving with you, and if you cannot show a track record of accumulating with the next generation, like your
Yeah.
firm's valuation is going to be under a lot of pressure. And so I was trying to build a piece of software that helped the next generation sort of get interested in finance and
Mm.
let an advisor lead that journey.
Yeah.
Um, Time will tell if the advisors agree with me enough to go on that journey or if the consumer is more interested in this approach or not. We're testing both sides. And if we get a consumer that comes to us and wants to be with an advisor, we just, let them work with one of our customers. So
Yeah.
we believe in advisors and we think that they offer a really tremendous like value, even if it's a single consultation or an extended long-term engagement. We're just trying to build a network that like and a product and a platform that can be used as software.
Yeah.
And we're trying to help the consumer
So
know what to do.
both people at the same time. So, and as I understand, when I kind of looked at elements, I think of kind of two use cases. The first is for prospects. The second is with clients. So maybe let's start with prospects. On your main homepage, you have a 1 minute video from trusted guru Carl Richards guaranteeing you will make money with the platform or your money back. So I got two questions.
Yeah.
The first is, how does an advisor typically use elements to convert prospects to clients? And second, have you ever had to give somebody their money back?
How did first
Yeah.
the first question
Yeah.
was
How
how.
does, yeah, how do they typically use elements? How does somebody use it in a prospecting process? How does somebody use elements to help them convert prospects into clients?
Well, I'll answer the second one because it's easy.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm positive that we have given someone their money
Okay.
back
Okay.
because I, we haven't had to do that very often, just because our CS motion is pretty good and I have seen people have success. We probably will. What we found was that it didn't actually really affect sales. Like I tested this guarantee motion.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my COO, who's a brilliant, were like, I wonder if we guaranteed that someone would get a new client using this motion, if our sales conversion rate on software demos would go up, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe we would also increase the demand. And like we tried it for almost like 5 months. And I mean, we've been growing more that whole time, but it didn't like affect our
Okay.
trajectory at all. And I think it's just because advisors um don't really like, they think so long and hard before they buy a tool, and they
Yeah.
don't really buy a tool like that with the cost of the tool as the only cost they think about. They think
Mm.
about like their time
Mm.
and the time in using a new tool. And so like I don't think a guarantee, I think they know they're going to get a new client if they use our tool, and they do, and they have successful conversations with our tool. But I don't even know in the next quarter if we'll keep doing that guarantee,
Okay.
because it didn't really like move the needle. I
Yeah.
thought it would more than it did, and it was like
Yeah.
we got a like decent initial boost, but it's just been like the same sales conversion rate. So
Okay.
we just decided it like was kind of like, it was like the risk of coming across cute and sort of
Yeah.
not like and the fact that it didn't help. I was like, okay,
Okay.
you test like that all the time where it's just like, let's
That's,
test this, let's test this, let's test that. And it's like really great to learn, that
yeah.
turns out I don't think guarantees on software really move the needle for financial advisors that much.
Interesting. That's interesting. I love the whole idea though of just like testing things and just everything's an
Yeah,
experiment.
it was
Just
really
trying to see what
rewarding.
happens.
I wouldn't have known. Like I had no idea, and I'm still not sure that the lessons I learned were the right lessons. You just try to you just make your best guess when you're done. Like, what did we learn? And
Yeah.
well, okay, let's make an adjustment.
So
So
how are they how are what's it like a typical path for an advisor using elements to engage with prospects?
well, I mean, the most typical path is going to be like I use it as the first place I capture any prospect that I want to have a serious conversation with, because I just tell them I have like I've tried different language. Sometimes I say I have a just an initial assessment that I need to do before I can um, decide when and how much time I'll need to meet with you. So will you please fill out this initial assessment? It's very brief. It takes less than 10 minutes. I think our average right now is somewhere between 7 and 8 minutes and it's a mobile onboarding flow, so it's really fast. But when you're done with when the prospect is done completing that, your promise to them is that you'll give them a brief financial assessment. And then inside of our tool, there's an image of a set of scores that populate from the user entering their own data. So if the user enters their data, it populates a scorecard. And then as an advisor, you can record your commentary in a video. You can type it up. We have what we call conversation plans that we
Yeah.
generate that let you like have a few ideas about what to say. And so you use this as just a way to give someone a financial assessment that doesn't require you any time except for sitting down and then pushing record, or sending out that text or email or whatever. So
So
that I
so
like a lot.
so a quick survey for the prospect, data back to the advisor where they can record, make their own comments, or if there's something maybe they need a little bit of help with, you've already got some of those complex, meaningful conversations broken down into just simple conversations that they can have.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's a big factor. Yep.
The other interesting thing I saw on the platform was not just prospects, but managing clients. And when I saw it, it looked like kind of like a fantasy football scorecard or something where I could see all my clients, all their scores sort of rated. How are advisors using elements? How are they using that view to help them with their clients?
So these are just dummy names. Reese Harper is on here. Looks like he's got $1,324 in liquid assets. And let's pretend that's true for today. So my liquid term score would be a 0, which means I can't even get by. A 0 is the number of years that someone can go. So
Yeah.
some people have zero point 0.1 years, some people have 1.5 years. The filter that we're looking through right now is what's called an assessment. So on the top, you're going to see the way we have assessed liquidity, which we sum up all after-tax assets and cash assets. And then from that, we say, how many years can someone get by? Well, I've got some clients that can go 30 years on their cash, and I got some that can go like, zero point 0.2 years. Mason Hall down here, liquid assets of 31,000, spending 144. So you can see here when you click into the score, you're going to be brought to a communication tip or an idea or a rationale for why we might suggest this as the way you communicate with someone. So if Mason is spending $144,000 a year and his liquid assets are 30,000, he can go for 0.2 years. And then you kind of talk to Mason about, that's on our score here at the top. You're going to see that that would be a very low liquidity score. Low is between 0.25 and 0.5 years. Fair is 0.5 to 1. Healthy is 1 to 3 years, and comfortable is 3 to 7 years, and secure is 7 to 15 years, and 15 years or more of liquidity is very secure. So we kind of just start talking to younger people about money in this way. What I've found that was surprising, though, for me, Jeff, was that no, I mean, we've got 90, I don't think it's a 98 or 99-year-old in the system.
Mm.
We've got I think 35% of our clients are in retirement. What I was surprised about is this tool that I had built for accumulators, which
Mm-hmm.
is, to my knowledge, one of the only ways to inexpensively have a conversation with an accumulator. Like there's no other tool that can be this fast. I mean, I can pull that back up real quick. And if we click into, Mason's uh, area. I've got his whole personal financial statement that he has loaded in. I see that he's got zero point 0.2 years of liquidity. He's got 1.8 years of qualified assets, 3 years of assets inside of his house. He's actually doing better than I thought. He was low on liquidity, but he owns a business apparently. He's got zero point 0.2 years of business equity, and then his total net worth is 940,000, and he can go for 6.5 years on his current spending of 144,000 a year on his total net worth. Like for a 45-year-old doing pretty well,
Yeah.
and a good client, potentially. But his current income at 80,000 still makes it very difficult for me to be able to have a comprehensive planning relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mason's someone I would probably put into what I would call my membership program, where I'm still allowing Mason to text me or to contact me through the app, and I'll answer questions for him, but I can't schedule time on my calendar with him unless he books time and pays for time with me. But for a small monthly fee, he could join my membership program
Mm-hmm.
and still ask me questions and maintain his own data, and I can just charge him however I want to. I think that the future is probably allowing advisors to start opening up a tier to attract accumulators, and then you'll be able to use it as sort of a tool to sell away your high-end service. You can sell
Mm-hmm.
against your high-end service by saying my low-end service is this type,
Mm-hmm.
but my high-end service is like this, but it costs more. Or I have a lower AUM fee for this type, but I have a higher AUM fee for this type. We really need to start differentiating our service. We can't, if we want to maintain our fees and grow our revenue, it's important to be very thoughtful about how to segment our clients, how to charge them appropriately, how to maximize our time. Don't turn people away because that's that one person you turn away that you lose the referral to their father-in-law that happened to have $17 million that he was never willing to trust a financial advisor until you helped his son-in-law get that $100 Roth IRA contribution going. And the next thing you
Yeah.
know, you get $17 million IRA rollover. So, I mean,
So
it's just
it's a way to help more people in a scalable
way.
way.
Yep. And
Interesting.
that way, and it plays nice with your current business. It's just nice. And we're
So would
starting
you
to run
would you
it
put
for people now too, because a lot of people just aren't wanting to run their own program. So we
hmm,
are like, look, if you don't want to run it, we'll run it for you and split the revenue with you.
interesting.
And if a client wants to meet with you, we'll book them on your calendar. You can just pay us a little percentage of what, they're going to pay you or something.
So do you see advisors putting all clients through Elements or just that uh, accumulator tier?
Well,
Or both?
most of we've sold about 500 firms to date, I think now. I would say most of them who are really successful are, you know, like they've got at least a couple of staff people, like the SMB single advisor. It's just harder for them to like get a service like a membership service up off the ground for a lot of them
Mm,
because they're just starving, trying to, and they're kind of forced to up market. Like young advisors that are starting their own firms, some of them are really good at marketing, and so they're really successful with our product because they've got a lot of top of funnel leads. But if you're kind of waiting around for people to call you, that's never going to happen in the history of this business. Like people
mm,
will not, I mean, organic referrals at my firm, I only plan on like 2% growth
mm.
in our clientele from organic referrals at best. So you
Interesting.
get 2% of your whatever your total clients are will probably refer and you'll convert them. But if you want to have my growth rate at my RIA is a lot higher than that. And we're in the double digits. Close. We've been in the very, very, high double digits, never in the triple digits. I don't think that's
Mm.
possible without lots of private equity money or,
Yeah.
acquisition money. But it's
Or
anyway,
yeah, I was gonna say, or you knock it out of the park with performance
yes.
somehow.
But you got to get new clients through
Yeah.
marketing if you want to grow faster than 3% a year,
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the research I think supports that or says that. Is
Mhm.
I got two more questions for you. Um, do you have a favorite element or do you like them all? Do you feel like they all just work?
Liquidity, man, for
Liquidity.
sure. My
Okay, so talk to me
man.
about that. Why do you
Yes,
like liquidity so
LT.
much?
Well, I think there's a special thing about liquid after tax assets that just unlocks a lot of peace of mind for people. And I think for I would rather have, like, if I had a choice to pay off a mortgage or just to have the balance of cash and investments while being able to pay off my house at any time, if for me and for a lot of people, my financial security actually would go down by parting ways with my liquidity to then not have a house paid off, like, or to have a paid off home. It would be like a substantial downgrade in my emotional security, in my peace of mind. And I do think that's a different generational feeling. Like, my generation is less comfortable with the own a home as the dream. We're just less
Gotcha.
comfortable
Yeah.
with that. And
Yeah.
so I think liquidity for me is my favorite, because when I see people get to like 6 months or a year of liquid assets, their emotional state is just so much more relaxed, man. It's just like so nice. If the goal of all financial planning was just to get people to have 6 months of liquidity, I just think that's probably the best thing you could do for America. Because it's like,
Just peace of mind. And they can weather changes,
just
storms,
function.
unexpected
It would give them
events.
a chance to finally like put on their own, like pull themselves out of poverty. If you have 6 months, you could take a different job. You can like
Mm,
negotiate with your employer and be like, dude, you've been paying me like $15 an hour for 4 years. Like, I want 20 or I'm out, like
mhm,
you could kind of like have some leverage finally. But if you don't
mm.
have liquidity, you got no leverage.
Yeah. Makes sense. I like it. I like it. It was interesting. I think mine was savings rate. But
That's a close,
close
I
second.
mean, they're all my favorite. I don't have a
Yeah.
favorite, but
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. But
that's
if I had to
close.
get you to pick one, yeah, yeah. The other thing I liked about the tool too is it had the benchmarking, so
Mm.
you could see kind of like where you are relative to others. Because I think for me that gave me some peace of mind too, and that's not something that's easily discoverable in other
No. And to be
areas.
clear, I just want people to understand where we're at in this evolution of the innovation here on benchmarking. Like, what
Mhm.
we have right now are health benchmarks that we have created around heuristics that we think are appropriate for given brackets. And that's what's
Gotcha.
being compared against currently in the system. And
That's
we
good
think
to
they're
know.
very defensible and reasonable, but we didn't want to start the data set with the averages because we weren't sure what the end client composition would be when we started
Right.
growing. Like, we didn't know if it would be
That's
like,
that's true.
so now
Yeah.
that we've seen that, we're developing on our product roadmap in discussion is how to create firm specific benchmarks, industry specific
Mm,
benchmarks, occupational specific benchmarks, consumer benchmarks on savings that are based on lifetime earnings. Like, there's a lot of, we're just really interested in what is healthy for a given set of data. And that's what we'll keep exploring. And I just wanted everyone to know that I think there's a lot of opportunity for how the consumer could get value from an advisor through this working of data and health and financial well-being. There's a lot of value there, I think.
all right. Last question. If someone wants to learn more about elements, what is the best way for them to learn more or get involved?
Man, probably two things would be like, follow me on Twitter.
Okay.
So if you're,
X.
probably the most candid and the most, I try to be the most helpful there. And second, I would say, I mean, getelements.com is the website, and we have lots of assets there that you can subscribe to, and a lot of resources. And our social channels are, getting up and running now and starting to have better content as well. So my
Cool.
personal blog I write on every week. It's called The Advisor. If you want to check that out, you can just go to reeseharper.com and it'll redirect you to that
All
blog.
right. So Twitter, getelements.com and reeseharper.com if you want to read a little bit more long form blog
Mm-hmm.
expertise from Reese. Reese,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you for joining me today. And everybody, I think we learned a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.